Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we're back with another Pioneer video. And today, we're going to be talking about the best Pioneer cards in Tarkir Dragonstorm. There's a ton of different cards in this set that I think are going to greatly impact the format. And today, I wanted to talk about the cards that I think will have the greatest impact. So, there's 10 cards on the list and one honorable mention, but real quick before we actually hop into the cards, I want to mention the criteria that, obviously makes a card being worthy on this list. And really all it is just that these are all my opinion. Obviously, your opinion is probably going to be different than mine. And if you think that there's a card that definitely should have been on this list that did not, let me know in the comment section below. What do you think about the card in terms of, if it should have been on the list? Is it going to be, part of a new deck? Or is it going to, make a new deck? Is it going to be part of an old deck? Let me know what you think about it in the comment section. But before we hop into the list, the honorable mention card is a card that has seen quite some play over the years. I just don't know how good it's going to be in Pioneer, and that card is Craterhoof Behemoth. Yes, Craterhoof Behemoth, super strong card, especially in Commander. It's like one of the best casual finishers that you can play. And, like Standard back in the day, it was pretty good in that weird green ramp deck with Garrick. This card is good. It's good in Legacy, like with Elves. I just don't know how good it's going to be in Pioneer. I think it's huge that Elves did just get Elvish Archdruid, because you can pair it with, like, Circle of Dreams Druid, for instance, and, you could make a ton of mana with Elves, and you just play, like, one or, probably just one Craterhoof Behemoth. I don't know. It could be pretty good. We'll see what happens. Elves is really not that great in Pioneer in general, so we'll see if this card is any good, and that's, it's a strong card, and it has a lot of potential, so that's why I put it as the honorable mention here on the list. Okay. So at number 10, it's a relatively unexciting card, but I have Twin Maw Stormbrood, really for just one reason. It's the fact that it's a roast on a stick, not on a stick, but you get an additional dragon out of it. I think this card actually could be solid. Roast still does see play in the format, even though there was like the double red one that deals 5 damage, but sometimes you can't always have the double red, on like turn 2 or turn 3. So some decks still play Roast, and honestly, I think this card could be all right. Basically, if you're playing Roast, there's really no reason to not just play this card. Like, obviously, if you need instants and sorceries in the graveyard, maybe you would still play Roast. But I don't know. This card just seems like really strong, and then worst case scenario, if you just get like really land flooded, just play a 5/4 flyer and then just gain some life. I don't know. I think this card seems pretty solid, and that's why I've got it at number 10. All right, number 9, I had to put this card on the list or Ryan was going to be really, really mad at me, and that card is Inevitable Defeat. I know he's really excited about this card, and I do think it's really strong. The only thing is with this card is, for me personally, Mardu historically has always struggled in, competitive 60-card formats. It's always struggled. Like, obviously, there was like Mardu Pyromancer, that I guess was pretty good in Modern for a minute there. But past that, that's really about it. Mardu spells it seems like they always struggle, in terms of like Standard and Modern. This card's so strong. I mean, just can't be countered. Exile a non-land permanent and you Lightning Helix them. That just seems pretty strong. I do like it with Ancient Cornucopia. I think it's interesting for those 5-color Niv decks. Unfortunately, I don't think Niv can actually grab this off of its ETB, which is a little unfortunate, but I still do think the card is really strong, and that's why I had to mention it at number 9. Okay, number 8, I have another 3-color card, and that card is Yathan Road Watcher. I secretly like this card in a number of different decks. I think if you're playing like a self-mill deck, with just like digging out value, I think this card's just good. Like, let's say you're just trying to mill yourself. Like, if you play this and then you return like a Stitcher Supplier or like a Satyr Wayfinder, into play, and then you just mill yourself even more, I think that's pretty good. I think it's also interesting in terms of playing a few different human decks. Like, like for instance, like Thali's Lieutenant. If you're playing against a mid-range deck and they're making you discard, all these cards, and then you're playing Fatal Push, and then you cast this, and then you can return something back. I don't know. It could be interesting. I think this card is just strong in general. Whether or not it has a home, I'm not entirely sure, but I wanted to put it on the list here, and that's why I've got it at number 8. All right, number 7, I have another human, and that card is Voice of Victory. It's another one of those cards where, like in a vacuum, this card is incredibly strong. When it attacks, you make 2 tapped 1/1 Red Warrior creature tokens that are also attacking, which is pretty sweet. And then your opponents can't cast spells during your turn, which is just really nice when you're in combat. They can't Fatal Push during combat and blow you out or anything like that. I think it pairs really well with Adeline, especially if you're playing humans, just because Adeline's power is equal to the number of creatures you control. So you add 2 more attackers to the board, and then it just makes Adeline even bigger. Obviously, they're not warrior humans or anything like that. They're just regular warriors. But I don't know. I think this card is still really, really good, and that's why I've got it at number 7. And then number 6, probably my favorite card, honestly, in the entire set. That card is Magmatic Hellkite. I really love this card. It's a fantastic new dragon. I used to play Ponza back in the day, so the fact that we get to destroy lands is just really cool. Sure, they do get to grab a basic, but it does enter with the stun counter, so it does stunt their mana growth a little bit, which is really nice. Very few decks actually play a lot of basics, so there's a good chance that, like, if you just play 2 of these, they're not even going to have another land to be able to grab, so you're just playing at 4/5 flyer for 4, and then just destroying a land, which can be pretty darn solid. So overall, I really do like Magmatic Hellkite. You know, there is maybe a little bit of time, you know, if you like want to do like a Krenko's Buzz Crusher Magmatic Hellkite like Ponza deck. I don't know, it could be kind of cool. Is it going to be good? I think Magmatic Hellkite is a solid card in its own right. I think it's another one of those cards that I don't know if it really has a home yet in the format. So like if a dragon deck becomes good, or just with Magmatic Hellkite, like if, you know, Rakdos Midrange wants to start playing a card like this, maybe they could, and it could be good. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I really do like the Hellkite, and that's why I've got it at number 6. All right, number 5, I have Tursa Lightshatter. Sorry if I mispronounced that, but I think I nailed it. I really like this card. The first thing I thought of is like, this card's kind of like a bad Fable in a way. It feels like that, but even a bad Fable is still really good, but it's a lot, you know, more aggressive, obviously. So it's a 3/3 with haste. When it enters, you discard 2 cards and draw them many cards, so you do get the immediate value, you get the body, and you get to loot, and then it has a really nice attack trigger. Also, it does have a relevant creature type in Wizard. Wizard is definitely very, very relevant, so like, you know, I'm not saying like you would want this in Wizards per se, but if you told me, hey, I'm playing mono red Wizards, and I'm playing like a weird discard brew with Marauding Mako, and then I'm also going to play like Fiery Temper or something like that, I would totally be on board with that. I don't know. I think this card is strong. I don't know if it has a home, but I think this card's really good, and that's why I had to put it on the list, and that's why I've got it at number 5. Okay, we're starting to get to the top 4 territory here. So these are honestly all the cards that we're going to be talking about next. I think are all cards that are going to see play in some degree in the format. So in that card, number 4, I have Rakshasa. Oh God, my goodness. Rakshasa's, bargain. So I really love this card with Up the Beanstalk. Like, in its own right, it's a solid card without Beanstalk. But with Beanstalk, this card's just incredibly strong. And like in general, like the other ones are pretty good too. You have your Gurmag Nightwatch and your Kintree Severance. I think those are all pretty solid in their own right with Up the Beanstalk. But the fact that you can cast these and it triggers it is just incredibly strong. I mean, like, again, you could just play anything. If you're just paying 3 mana and triggering Up the Beanstalk, that's just super good. I know I did see a cool Gurmag Nightwatch concept list a while ago, where you like sacrifice this, or you play Hooting Mandrills with it, and then you can like Neoform or whatever. You can do some really interesting things with all 3 of these cards, and that's why I've got it at number 4. The real number 4 is Rakshasa's Bargain, but I really do like the other cards as well. And it's really not even just, I mean, the cards are good, but it's just because Up the Beanstalk is just that good. Okay, number 3, I have really the entire cycle of these monocolor lands, except I think the black one might see the most play, which I'll talk about why in a second. I really do like the design space on this. It's a monocolor land that you could realistically play in any deck. You don't have to play it in your 2-color deck, but it's nice because they all, you know, obviously tap for different, you know, they enter untap if you control a specific land. They're all different. It's all the tricolors. What's cool too is it obviously works really, really well with the shock lands, obviously, as well as the surveil lands, so they can enter untapped. So in standard, most of the time you're going to play your turn 1 surveil land, and then you play this on turn 2, and you can do the same thing in Pioneer, shock land, and then into this. That's fantastic. I think the black one might see the most immediate play, just because of the exile, the creature card from your graveyard that does work with oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the Roots deck, Insidious Roots. It works pretty well with that. I think the black one, I don't know which one is strongest. Like, you know, on surface, probably Mistrise Village is probably the best one in terms of, you know, power rate, but I think they're all still pretty solid. I think maybe the white one by default is maybe the weakest, but it's still not a weak card. I think all these are really good. They're not legendary. They'll enter untapped as long as you have a shockland in your color, and it's just really good, and that's why I've got it at number 3 on the list. Okay, number 2. I think that this card is the strongest card in the entire set, but I don't think I think Pioneer might be the worst format for it in a way. And that card is Ugin, Eye of the Storms. I think this card is just incredibly strong. Okay, so 7 mana, we're casting it, and then we get to exile something. And then whenever we cast another colorless spell, we get to just exile more permanents. Oh, and it's 0 makes additional, 3 colorless mana, so we can play something else and then exile something. I don't know. It's +2, gains 3, and draws a card, and it's -11, usually wins the game if you're playing enough colorless cards. I don't know. I think this card just seems nuts. Again, I think Pioneer is the worst format for it in a way. Like with Standard, you can just play a whole bunch of mid-range threats like this, and it's splashable in any deck, obviously, because it's colorless. But I feel like, Pioneer is like, it's fast enough to where this won't always work. And then like with Modern, you can play this on turn 3 very easily with Tron, and you have all the other, colorless good cards. I don't know. I think this is the worst format for Ugin, but it's still going to be really good. You also can play the Ugin the Ineffable, and then into this is just kind of insane, and then cast something else. You make 3 colorless, and then your other 2 colorless spells cost 2 less. I don't know. It could be absolutely insane. But yeah, I really love Ugin, and that's why I've got it at number 2. And at number 1, I actually have the other Planeswalker in this set. It's Elspeth Stormslayer. This card is just absolutely insane. I mean, just the static. Whenever you make tokens, you make twice that many. That's not creature tokens. That's treasures. That's food. Obviously, you got all your different creature tokens. It's just any token. If you're playing, what's the name of it? The Green Overlord. When you make an everywhere token, you get to make another one of those. Okay, that's already good in its own right. It +1 makes a 1/1 white soldier. Boom. So we're already making 2 soldiers every time. It's 0. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Those creatures get flying until your next turn. So you can use this offensively and defensively. Obviously, like if you're playing in an aggro mirror or something like that, okay, I'll anthem my creatures. I will 0 to give all my creatures a permanent buff. Oh, and they gain flying until end of turn, attack and kill you. I don't know. That seems pretty darn good to me. And then the -3, destroy target creature an opponent controls with mana value 3 or greater. Okay, like that's just really good. You've got the removal, you've got like the, obviously it protects itself, and then you just have this like anthem every turn that's gonna just win the game eventually. I don't know, this card seems really good. I think it's gonna be good in mostly like the mono white and like the red white Caretaker's Talent control decks. Honestly, if blue white control decided they wanted to start just playing this too, I think it'd also be really good in blue white control. I don't know, this card's just absolutely incredible, and that's why I've got it at number 1 on the list here of the best cards in Tarkir Dragonstorm for Pioneer. And again, if you disagree with the list, let me know what you think in the comment section below. But that takes us to the end of the video here. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. If you love watching Pioneer content, you're definitely going to want to be subscribed to this channel if you have not already. Huge shout out to our channel members, Ralph, Matt, Arcadius, Ray, Gary, Sarwanoki, Night Red 3, and our premium channel member, Michael D. If you're interested in being a channel member, it starts at $1 a month, and you get access to the exclusive Commander Crane Discord, as well as other features here on the channel. So, I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this video, and I hope to catch you in the next one.